Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. How are we doing tonight, this lovely, lovely night? Hello, Ellipti, Skitty, Duality. I know Sino's here too, so hi, hi. Hi, Arch. Hi, Willow. Christian, that's me. Do you guys like my new little guy? I just took him from the thumbnail, the thumbnails I'm doing for the VODs channel. My little guy. There he is. It's very cute. Lunar, you are not late. We haven't gotten started, so don't worry. You're not late at all. Haven't even done the summary yet, so... or the last chapter summary. Guys, I will say, oh my god, it took me like 40 minutes to write last chapter's summary. Look at how... hold on. Look at how fucking long this is. This is the chapter 11 summary. Look at how long. Also, happy birthday, Lunar. Hope you had a good birthday. Or having a good birthday. Look at how fucking long this story is. I was trying so hard to condense it. I really was. But, I mean, let's be fair. Chapter 11 was fucking dense. My god. What a dense little chapter. So, I mean, I added, like, I wanted to make sure that the prophecy was in there and all that sort of stuff, but dense little guy. Arch, are you still not caught up? I guess we're on chapter 12, and it kind of takes a while to get through some of these chapters. I'm surprised you're here if you're not zooming along. And a great way to close my day out with story chill time. Hell yeah. Well, I just want to say hi before we start. Aw, no worries. I appreciate you dropping in. I appreciate it. How far are you in right now? What chapter are you on? I haven't hardly had the time to do. Ah, that sucks. I don't want to talk about it. Have you not gotten past... what were you on last time? Were you on like 6 or something? If you haven't gone far from that. I get it, you know, being busy and all that sort of stuff. So it's no worries, of course. You know. Can't wait for the chapter to finish. We're all screaming in Discord. Yeah, it's so funny. Like, okay, so the people who aren't caught up, or not caught up, but the people who don't know, after every single chapter, or after all these chapters, me, Skitty, and Duality, and like some of the other people who know, like who have read this before, will go into Unda, because Unda has a Discord server. We all go into Unda's Discord server in the alternate universe channel, and then we just kind of scream about the fucking chapter. It's great. We just all chat in there for a little bit. So it's on our brains a little bit. It's always on my brain. Okay, I'm gonna very quickly summarize what happened last chapter. I'm not gonna read the whole fucking thing, but just the bare end of it. It's a lot of these. Yeah. It's a lot of these boys are just so stupid. Okay, Arch, I will see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so for chapter 11, we mainly covered Mindfang's magical combat training class. Oh boy. And she had a couple different tests they had to do. Everybody passed, but during those tests, Karkat got some revelations about his some of his memories, and some of the things that happened to him. He got some flashbacks that he didn't really like, and he also... they played Snake Ouija with Solux to get some answers. And later that night, Karkat is asleep, and it is 2:22 a.m. Also, happy 2:22. I didn't get the chance to do a Solux doodle today, but a happy 2:22, happy Solux day. So, but anyways, they do also such a fitting chapter to read on 2:22. Solux pops into Karkat's room at 2:22 a.m. It's Solux Day. Yeah, so Solux has this whole thing with being obsessed with the number 2. And so on 2:22, it's considered Solux Day. Well, one of many Solux's days. Everybody, it's kind of a joke to write it out as Tuesday, but you saying 2 as in the number Tuesday, and people will draw Solux on Tuesday. But 2:22, when we had 2/22/2022 last year, that was like a big Solux Day. Just any arrangement of the number 2 on any dates is considered Solux Day. But anyways, so Solux pops into Karkat's bed at night. Yeah, 2/2 as well. It's funny because last Solux Day was also yeah, you're right. And they kind of, Solux and Karkat have kind of this almost intimate kind of moment on the bed together. They don't, like, obviously it's not like a thing, but Solux repairs the spell where Karkat has scratched it to trigger the memory. And Karkat, like, asks Solux if he feels lonely not having Karkat, remember. And they kind of have a little moment. And then after Solux teleports away, Karkat just thinks once again about how much he hates him. So, thinking about it. Last year's 2/22 is so powerful because it was also on a Tuesday. Yeah, that's like the optimal. That is everything lining up perfectly. Yeah. So here we go. Chapter 12: Fear and Delight. Okay, let's get started. I gotta get all situated in my seat so I'm all cozy. Okay. Sorry about the weird mic sounds. It's my fucking mic stand. Does not have, it makes all these like weird, like, it's so weird. Okay. Chapter 12: Fear and Delight. Shocking absolutely no one, you're pretty tired in the morning because someone decided to disturb your sleep. Solux isn't even a sleep paralysis demon. He's more of a wake you up and emotionally disturb you demon. It doesn't roll off the tongue so smoothly. You end up missing Rose on the way to breakfast. She leaves a note on the door explaining that she's gone already. You're just grabbing the last of your things together when your room suddenly becomes a strobe fest of lights from someone knocking on your door. What? You say flatly as you wrench the thing open, only to find that it's Jade there. Oh, thank fuck you're still here. Come with me. Jade gasps and drags you out of the floor so fast, you barely manage to shut it behind you. I had to find someone to see this because it can't just be me. Solux went off with a bunch of demons and Jade babbles excitedly as she hurries down the stairs. Jade, he is a demon. What's so weird about him hanging out with a bunch of other demons? You ask her as you try not to trip on the stairs. Because June was with them, and they were all whispering secretively. When they saw me, they slunk off together, and I had to pretend to go back to my room. Something's going on, I know it, Jade exclaims. That's pretty weird. Your mind flashes back to June's dad talking quietly with Solux about weird and suspicious shit, and suddenly this doesn't seem so odd after all. You think they're in on something? You ask her. I know sneaking around when I see it, Jade says matter-of-factly. She tugs you out of the building and lingers around the side of it. She pulls you close to the wall and turns to face you. Okay, so I'm Faye. I can do this specific kind of magic. It's not really invisibility. It's sort of an I'm not here thing. It makes people overlook me. I'm going to hold your hand to try to do it to both of us, but I need you to try to get in that headspace too. Just be certain that they can't see you. The harder you know that it's true, the more it is, okay? Jade whispers. She takes your hand in hers and gives it a squeeze. Something washes over you, prickling your skin. Before you, Jade seems to blend in with the rest of the world to an extent where you have a really hard time picking her out, even though she's right in front of you. You need to do this. You're not here. You're out of step and invisible to the eye. Around you, everything suddenly becomes muted. Colors are softer, voices quieting. You can still see and hear, but it's as if everything has been turned down, and Jade is suddenly clearer. That's good, come on, keep quiet, she whispers and pulls you away with your hand still in hers. Your palm is getting a little sweaty and gross, but you're not going to say anything. As you round the corner, you can see Solux talking to Matuna and Latula with red glare, and June standing there listening. The pair of you sneak close enough to hear it, ever so carefully. You're crouching low to the ground. Not that it should matter if they can't see you, but still. Need to find it, Solux insists. No, duh. We can't let that thing just be out in the world. We've already seen the damage just one fragment does, Lutula tuts. That place was scoured completely. Whatever it is in Nara, June sighs. That's exactly what worries me. If it's left Nara, then it's somewhere else. We saw what it did to humans, but there's nothing else like that happening anywhere else, so who the fuck has it and why? Solux asks. It's gotta be one of our own, right? Who could handle that kind of thing? Lutula reasons. Or a follower gifted with immunity, Red Glare points out. Great, Solux groans. Exactly how many cults did he have? June asks. How the hell should I know? Dude was shady and secretive as shit, Solux grumbles. What are they talking about? The dig? Jade whispers. June's back snaps straight and Jade gasps. Just as June turns around, Jade shoves you to the ground, but it's too late. June has seen her. You watch as Jade flickers into visibility and runs over there, feigning innocence. There you are. We're going to be late for breakfast, Jade says brightly. Why were you invisible? June asks her suspiciously. Oh, it happens sometimes. Nature shit, you know? Jade laughs, gesturing to the grassy lawn and trees all around. I'll catch you two up. Solux. Yeah, I'll catch you two up, Solux says, and June nods, letting herself be pulled off by Jade. Somehow they haven't noticed you, and from the way everything is still faded, you think you're still invisible. Is she a problem? Red Glare asks after a few seconds. No, look, we need to find out who took the fragment and how. The timing of Karkat summoning me was the fucking worst. I was so close to it, and when I got back, it was just gone, and I never saw who else was there. Solux hisses in frustration. Well, you shouldn't have made such a bitch deal in the first place, so you had to go. Matuna snorts. Tuna, of course he was going to trust him and make a dumb deal. It's not his fault. Lutula sighs. I'm right here, Solux reminds them. I think the better question to ask is not who took the fragment or why. Because the answer to the second of those is pretty obvious. It's not like someone is hunting for a rare trophy. That shard has a purpose, and it's one piece of who knows how many. If it's completed, it won't be good for any of us, but especially not you, Red Glare says, looking at Solux. I know that, Solux hisses, and you watch his tails flick in the air angrily. The better question is who arranged your absence at such a crucial time, Red Glare says. If you're implying that this has anything to do with Karkat, then you can take that right the fuck back. He doesn't know anything. The amount he doesn't know drives me crazy. He sure as shit wasn't calling me away to fuck me over, Solux snarls. Easy, Tiger. I don't think that's what she meant. The boy was pretty obvious bait, so question is who set that trap up? Who put him there so he'd call on you? Lutula says soothingly. You're very interested in this answer. Hell if I know. We're guessing someone was trying to get him out of this plane, but I don't know who would do that. I don't know who would want to hurt him. It can't have been one on our side. We need permission to move him. That's why I had to have Slick take him away, because it would have taken too long for me to do it, Solux explains. And we're ruling out the psychopomp. Why? He serves death. She might not serve any side, but this regime change hardly benefits her. It's not as if her colleagues are pleased with you either. War and Famine were right outside the club before, and they'd have torn you limb from limb if they had the chance. Whether you like the psychopomp or not, you have to consider his motives. Besides, with people dying down there, Death would have been aware of what's going on, Red Glare points out. So what, you think it's in Midnight City? Matuna asks. No way. That thing would shred the souls down there. Aradia wouldn't do that to the dead. We need to work out what's really happening here. Besides, I was down there and I didn't feel that thing anywhere. Solux insists. Yeah, good job being a snake for ages. That was hilarious to see. Matuna snorts. We got pics, Lutuna giggles. Fuck my life, Solux groans. And how is your better half faring after all of this? Red Glare asks, her question effectively killing Lutula and Matuna's amusement. He's fine. He was worried about me, but he's fine, Solux says defensively. You can't seriously be intending on staying here, Solux. This diversion is entertaining, and I enjoy this world just as much as anyone. Humans are deeply in need of my legal prowess, and it's a good sport for sure, but you're hardly in a position to be indulging in this kind of escapism. Power vacuums never lead to good things. Everyone has been waiting to see where the chips fall, and you've done nothing. Inaction isn't seen as a mark of strength. Say what you will about the other guy, but he was decisive and he always had a plan. People wonder if the same can be said of his successor, Red Glare says stiffly. Solix bristles, his tail slashing through the air angrily, and his hair actually starting to stand up on edge as he snarls at Red Glare. People can think what they like. I outrank you and everyone else for that matter. If anyone wants to question shit, they can come and say it to me and I'll put an end to it. They can enjoy the anarchy. It's supposed to be what we like. Now you can do what you're told and keep looking for that shard. It's not a request, it's an order. Now fuck off, he snaps at her and turns on his heels to stalk off. Red Glare sighs and shakes her head. This can't go on, she says softly. I like things how they are, Latula says softly. Yeah, same. So do a lot of people. Things are better now. Pretty much everyone thinks so. Not everyone, I mean Kurlaz. Matuna trails off sadly. Oh, I know, honeybee, Latula says softly and squeezes him close to her side. With 3 puffs of smoke, each of them vanish, somehow without seeing you there at all. Like letting out a breath, you feel the world around you come back into focus. Something is really amiss in the world of the demons. You can't help but feel guilty for spying, even though it's clear that they're up to something. So when you walk into the dining hall and Solix perks up at seeing you, there's a hot flush of guilt that runs out the back of your neck. Dave, on the other hand, isn't perky at all. If anything, he's wilted. Dave, you say and sit down, you look like shit. Dave looks up at you. His shades are on top of his head so you can see the way his eyes are red-rimmed and how he has dark circles underneath them. His skin is almost grayish and clammy looking, and altogether he looks really unwell. Excuse me. I feel pretty shit too, Dave croaks. His voice sounds just awful. I was trying to talk him out of going to class, Rose says, filling you in on what you missed. I second that notion, you nod. You can't. I seconded it. You're like 5th. You can fit the idea, Solix informs you. How can you two agree and still be so petty? Dave rasps. Rose nudges a steaming drink closer to him, and Dave acquiesces enough to take a sip. It smells lemony. Don't blame me. Do you have a fever? You ask. Dave inclines his head towards you, so you lean over the table and reach for him. You gently sweep his soft white hair aside, and in your fluttery heart you think it feels like clouds. You press your hands to his forehead and find that it's burning hot. Your hands are cold, Dave sighs, his eyes fluttering closed. Cold hands, warm heart, isn't that the saying? Rose asks as she takes a sip of her drink. Well, either way, you're definitely running a fever. You should go back to bed after you've eaten, you tell him and take your hand back. Fee, Solix says petulantly. Fine, I'll play Mad Snacksio in my PJs on the sofa if y'all insist, Dave says begrudgingly. I don't think anyone was demanding that, but okay, June laughs. The people have spoken, Dave says, his voice cracking a little on the words. Carcat, did you get the email about class? We're doing a 2-parter on dream analysis and visions, Rose says, turning to you. I haven't checked my emails yet, but that's cool. I suppose you know all about that stuff, right? You ask curiously. Yes, it's very much more my field. I'll be intrigued to see how our professor will grade our homework on this because lots of people can't even remember their dreams, Rose wonders. It's a valid point. Sometimes you remember your dreams if you wake up at an odd point, but often you sleep and you get up the next day with no memory of anything at all. Dave coughs loudly in a deep and rattling way that doesn't sound good. Solix's face twists in pity, and he picks up Dave's plate with one hand. I'm taking you back, Solix says softly. He touches Dave's shoulder, and with a puff of bicolored smoke that is now a familiar hint of synthetic apple, the pair of them and Dave's plate are gone. Poor guy, he looked really rough, Jade says sympathetically. I don't remember him ever being this sick before. We usually both have fantastic immune systems, Rose says. Yeah, I don't... You trail off. Trying to remember the last time you were sick. It must have happened. Everyone gets sick. Yet you can't recall a single time. When were you ever sick? This isn't like not being able to remember the last date exactly that you cut your nails or something, because you distinctly remember that you have done that, but you just can't place when because it's mundane. This is instead you not being able to recall ever being unwell. You've been tired and groggy from not sleeping. You felt sick from eating way too much or something, or lightheaded when you've forgotten to eat, but you can't recall ever having the flu. You have no memory of having a cold, being curled up with a fever, nothing. It makes sense that you wouldn't remember it before the event, but there's no reason you'd forgot that since. Years and years without being ill at all? Is that possible? Before you can speculate further on this discovery, Solix reappears, although this time he's alone. He squints judgmentally at you. "What's that stupid look on your face for?" Solix asks you in a mean tone, one he seems to reserve specifically for antagonizing you. "I was doing my Solix impression," you retort, making June snort juice out of her nose and start half laughing, half coughing. You can see Solix trying to think of a smart comeback before he's clearly got nothing and seems to reluctantly accept that you've beaten him. You have your magical languages class, and it turns out that you're being subjected to the fire test for basic this morning. You don't know if you didn't read an email or if it's a surprise test, but you have all but 10 minutes to check your notes over and write out the best estimate of what you're supposed to do. Like last time, you have to write on the teacher instead of yourself, but to your pleasant surprise, your spell works. Despite having been absent for almost all of the teachings on basic and being a snake for some of it, Solix passes as well with zero obvious effort on his part, and you kind of hate him a little for it. Well, no, you don't hate him. You're just envious at how instinctively good he is at all this and how hard it is for you. You're getting through your classes, but it feels like you spend so much time studying just to keep up. Then Solux just breezes through the whole thing like it hardly takes any thought. It gets your back up. It kind of makes you insecure. You want to be good at this, you do. Your class settles into their seats for an actual lecture itself now that the test is over. You end up between Solix and Jade, with Rose and June further down the line in the seats in the auditorium, and that's pretty much been staked out for your group by now. The next language that we'll be covering is Basilisk. This one will go on for a little while, as the projects that you'll be working with on will take some time. Basilisk specializes in spells that continue onwards, so a lot of what we'll be talking about is stable spells over time. Your teacher explains and starts to clear the board off to begin writing. There are a few factors that influence how long a spell will last. Can anyone think of any? She asks. When you tell it to end, Rose suggests. Yes, quite. Proper spellcasting has a finite end to it most of the time, but long-term spells often have woolier end conditions, as it were. But certainly, if your spell's life is linked to a condition such as the next full moon, or something like that, then it will end when that is met. Your teacher agrees. The power source going out? Lots of stuff broke after the event because it was tied to gods, another student suggests. Exactly, but the same holds true for elemental magic. There are spells that have deactivated and reactivated based on volcanoes that they tied it to becoming active or inactive. We should also consider the individual magical power of the caster in question. A very powerful witch or magical caster can power a spell longer. Very old magical caches from long-dead witches have been known to have still have powered magical artifacts in them. The library also has a number of books that remain magically charged or even semi-sentient because of the same reasons. Your teacher goes on. Is that what happened in Japan? At the dig, I mean. Some old artifact that still had power in it? Jade asks loudly. Solix sucks a sharp breath in, and even though he's next to you, it's like you can feel how suddenly tense he is. Your teacher seems to consider Jade's question for a moment. What happened in Japan certainly is a tragedy, and a reminder to be careful around magic. I certainly can't say for sure what's happened there, as it's under investigation, and I don't know any more than you about that, she says quickly. But, she goes on, it is a good case study. Whatever spell or artifact is down there could be one of a few things. Firstly, it could be a very old and very powerful spell tethered to something still extant. So not a god, but instead perhaps the sun. There's little evidence to suggest that it was a sentient being down there, but that doesn't mean that we should rule out a possessed object. In that case, what you're dealing with is an item whose magical power comes not from a spell, but rather the being within it, and it's not limited by the same kind of entropy that spells are. Is that possible? For whatever was down there that Solix was looking for to be not some enchanted thing, but an item with someone in it? No, that's probably not it, right? Solix said that he was looking for it, not him, her, them, whatever. So the odds are he's looking for a cursed object. Taking a chance to cast your gaze over to Solix as surreptitiously as you can, but he's staring forward with a laser focus. Yeah, he's not going to tell you anything about that. The lecture goes on, going back to the planned topic and not Jade's diversion. You're listening as best you can, but you're starting to feel guilty. On one hand, there's absolutely something suspicious going on here, and it's very obviously attached to you. The fact that June is somehow involved as well as possibly her dad is even more suspicious. But you're still spying on the guy who died to save your life. That doesn't sit well with you. The more time passes, the less at ease you feel, and as your teacher seems to start wrapping things up, you scribble a note on the page of your notebook, because goodness knows you've not been taking notes. You keep it simple and easy to read. Can I talk to you alone after class? Solix looks at the note and shoots you a curious glance, but he nods all the same. When class ends, you slip away from your friends, and when you start getting worried that Solix won't follow you, he appears out of nowhere behind you, making you jump. You're passing notes in class now? What are you, in middle school? Solix teases. Technically, I didn't pass you anything. It's still in my notebook, you point out, and Solix shrugs at that. You're outside the building now, leant against the sun-warmed brick with Solix watching you. I need to confess something, you say quietly as you look down at Solix's mismatched shoes. I think you need a priest for that. That's not really my line of work, Solix scoffs, clearly amused. Well, I'm confessing something about you, so it seems relevant to you, shitlord, you snap. About me? Solix says, wide-eyed. You nod and look back at the ground. You need to tell him what you did, but you don't want to get Jade in trouble. I followed you this morning. I heard part of your conversation with Matuna Latula, Redglare, and June. Not all of it. I somehow made myself invisible to you. I don't know how, you admit. I do. You vowed you wouldn't, but I guess you don't remember, so it doesn't count, does it? Solix trails off for a moment in a mumble, looking away from you with a frown. What are you talking about? You ask him, poking the demon in the arm. And Solix says as he hesitates, I wouldn't do that again if I were you. Not because you were spying on me like a creep. I said I was sorry, you mumble. You didn't, he points out. Oh, right. Well, I am sorry. I just hate not knowing so much now, I just hate not... excuse me. I just hate not knowing so much, but now all I have is more questions and no answers. How can I be invisible? Why would it be a bad thing? What did I promise you to do with that? It didn't get me anywhere. You sigh. There's a chance it might be bad for your health. I don't know how it works, and I won't tell you in case that actually makes things go bad, so don't ask me. Solix says hurriedly. Great, you mumble. I'm guessing you went out there with Jade, who got caught instead, huh? Solix asks, and you nod. There's no point in lying about that. It's pretty obvious. You stay leant against the wall sadly. You wish you knew any answers to do with this. Solix sighs and puts a hand on his own chest. I know you hate not knowing shit. I'm not a fan either. There's a lot of shit going on, and as much as I'd personally like it if you remembered anything, it probably isn't a good idea. But you're at a disadvantage here without knowing your ass from your elbow magically, and you shouldn't get stranded, or you shouldn't be getting stranded on mountains, Solix says. It's not like I chose to go there, you argue. Solix shakes his head, and then he puts his hand inside his chest. He sort of phases it through, and when he pulls it out, there's a weapon in his hand. It's the same kind you picked up in class that time. A sickle. You should take this. At least you won't be unarmed if anything happens again, he explains and hands it to you. The weapon fits in your hand perfectly. It's light but not insubstantial. Unlike the weapons that you saw him with ever so briefly before he stabbed himself, this one is plain. Its blade is almost matte for how much it looks like it's been sharpened over and over, leaving tiny scuffs on the metal. The handle is wrapped in red leather, and there's no ornamentation on it at all. Yet somehow the weapon feels powerful. It's not showy, it's functional. This isn't a weapon meant to be shown off, it's one meant to be used. You touch your fingers to the blade lightly, and you can feel how terribly sharp it is. The whole thing feels familiar. This is mine, you say, without thinking. You remember it? Solix asks, and you hate how that trace of hope in his tone makes your heart ache. No, I just know somehow. Why did you have it? You ask him. I was holding on to it for you, but I obviously lost track of you for a while. Couldn't give it back, and you never asked for it. You probably shouldn't be unarmed with everything that's going on, Solix says, looking away from you. You don't know if he's checking if anyone else is around, or if he's just choosing not to look at you. What makes you so sure that I can even use this thing now? I don't remember it, and combat class wasn't exactly great, you point out. I'm not expecting you to go on a murder spree with it or anything. It's a last resort method of defending yourself and anyone else that needs it. It'll come back to you in that situation, I'm sure, he says with a shake of his head. You look down at the curved blade again, and the residual discomfort from your recovered memories rises up to meet you. How much have you used this weapon? Has he seen you attack people with it before? That's not the kind of person you'd like to think you are. Have I killed people with this? You ask, barely above a whisper. I don't know. Soluk shrugs. He seems to clock your expression, and his shoulders drop slightly. When he speaks next, his voice is a touch softer. I could find out for you, if you want me to. Doom and time are aspects that I'm pretty familiar with, and both of them work well with that, Solux offers. What does that mean, doom and time? You ask curiously. It's... Solux grunts and drags his hands through his hair until he hits his horns. He pulls a displeased face, but explains anyways. Demons aren't from this plane. People on this plane talk about elemental magic and non-elemental, but they don't categorize it in much more than that. They focus on languages instead. That's not how we do it. All demons know Ath from the moment we're made. We categorize people by the kind of magic they use. In the same way that some languages work better with some goals, the aspects we have lend themselves better to some things. I know what everyone is when I see them. My aspect is doom, so anything to do with death, rules, systems, some kind of pathetic stuff, doomy things. Looking at your sickle and seeing if you caused anyone's doom is exactly my kind of thing. Solix explains. Huh, that's cool. What am I then? You ask curiously. This is way better than knowing your star sign or whatever. Blood, Solix says without a beat of hesitation. It's all about bonds and relationships, bringing people together, protecting. He's not looking at you again, so you slap him in the chest with the flat of your sickle. Is that a good one to have? You ask him. Good and bad are kind of a matter of opinion. It's not as if there's some almighty objective answer out there for that. Solix hedges, clearly trying to play you off. Oh, so it's a bad one, you conclude. Solix's ears drop and his face takes on a slight hint of panic. No, it suits you exactly, he says hurriedly. See, how am I supposed to know if that's an insult or not? What about the rest of our friends? What are they? You ask, moving on. Oh, redemption for hydrate. Let me do that. Thank you, Crenshaw. I do know the Ath pun. I do know the Ath pun. Yeah, all demons know till death. Till death Ath. But I just read it as Ath, because it's a tilde, right? This is how you're supposed to, it's supposed to be a tilde. And the coding language is all about, oh, fuck, what did I just click? Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. I fucked with the fucking page. Oh. Yeah. There we go. It's a tilde. So till death, if you write it out, till death is the name of the coding language. And Ath is all about things. It's very apocalyptic in the way the coding language works, and it's all about death and things being set up for death or whatever. Like Spurb is coded with Ath, and it's the thing that causes the apocalypse in Homestuck. So it's till death, but it's a tilde and then Ath. So most people just pronounce it Ath, but there's a pun in there. Okay. What about the rest of our friends? What are they? You ask, moving on. Dave is time, Soluk says. So that's why you're familiar with it, because all his magic must be like that, and you spend so much time with him, you say. Right. Rose is light. That's all about truth and luck and all that shit. Juna's breath, the most breath anyone has ever been. Jade is space. You saw how her magic worked in combat class. That's how she instinctively does it. Solux goes on. He's right, too. Jade was bending the space around her as her first instinct. By the same token, you protected someone you had a relationship with. So you're blood, and he's doom. You wonder if you would know how much blood has been over this blade, if you were more competent with your magic. Do you want to know? You run your fingers over the cool metal. It really does feel like something you know well. It's been broken in by you, maybe even made for you. By you, perhaps? Tell me then, have I killed people with this? You ask quietly and hold it out to him. Solux looks down at the offered blade, and his mouth twists into a sad smile. He laughs softly, but he doesn't sound especially happy. Most people wouldn't want to know. Ignorance is bliss, you know? Solux says quietly. Just because I don't remember something doesn't mean I didn't do it. Doesn't mean it's not real, and it didn't have an effect on the world. If I killed people, I should own that. It's the least I should do for taking a person's life. You insist. And if you have, Solux asks curiously, then I'll deal with that, you tell him, even though you deeply hope that he tells you you haven't taken anyone's life. Solux watches you for a second or two, his eyes locked on yours. The moment feels charged and heavy somehow. He lowers his gaze and raises his hand to either side of the weapon still held out to him. Red and blue light flicker around the weapon in the space between his open hands. Then as quickly as it started, it stops. You haven't killed anyone with this, he tells you quite simply. You slump against the bricks in relief. That doesn't mean you haven't personally ended someone's life, but it's something, and you'll take it. I thought you'd ask me if I was lying or not. You obviously wanted that answer. I figured you might say I just said that to spare your feelings. We know you have a history of fainting, Solix teases you. First of all, fuck you, you say, and he snickers. Second of all, I don't think you're lying at all. I don't think you would. I want to own up to something. Or I want to own up to anything I did, and I told you that. I don't think you'd lie to me about this. Yeah, okay, but it's not like I don't fuck with you for fun, Solix says quickly. No shit, I'm aware of how much of an ass you can be. But you saved my life, died, and turned yourself into a snake doing it. When it's actually important, I'm pretty sure I can trust you completely. You wouldn't lie to me about something like this, you tell him. You've never been more certain about anything in your life. Solix is staring at you. All of his eyes are open wide, and he watches a crackle of energy rushes between his horns like he's some living Tesla coil. Solix's voice sharply goes in pitch, and he coughs before talking again. I have to go. He turns away from you, and you get the feeling that something important is happening here. Something you don't have the context for, and you're certain you shouldn't lose it. Solix, wait, you call out, not knowing yet what you're about to say. He pauses and looks back at you. June's throwing that Halloween party tomorrow. Are you going? You ask him. Dave is pretty sick. I need to convince him not to go. He should stay in bed, Solix says hesitantly. Right, no, of course. He's your Moirail. You look out for him, you say, hastily pulling back on whatever conversational road that is. But if I can convince him to stay, I might be able to come. I'd hate to miss the chance to see you and looking stupid in some costume, Solix grins. Oh shit, I need a costume, you whisper in horror. You hadn't thought about that at all. Ha, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going. I'll see you there. Solix laughs and then promptly vanishes. Asshole. You feel kind of strange, bubbly almost. It's probably just the high from finding out that you're not holding a murder weapon or something. Although, that said, you're still standing around outside your school holding a weapon, and you should probably not be doing that. Your bag seems like the best place for the weapon, so you swing it off your shoulder and go to fiddle with the toggle that holds it shut. It often ends up taking 2 hands to do that, and it does so this time. You open the bag to go. Your hand is empty. Both your hands are only holding your bag, or your bag of holding, and your sickle is gone. It's not on the floor. You have somehow lost a weapon within minutes of getting it. Holy shit. What do you do? What do you do? It's not on the ground around you, although you're pretty sure that you would have noticed if you dropped it. You have to do something. You can't just leave a weapon wander on its own, but you don't have Solix's phone number. As you scramble for the phone, it rings, as you scramble for your phone, you figure you have the next best thing. It rings. Hello? Dave says thickly. Dave, you gasp in relief. Car babe, can I call you that? I was sleeping. What's good? Dave rambles. He sounds rough. Don't call me that. Is Solix there? I need him, you say. Mood, Dave agrees. A second passes. Is he there then? You ask again. Oh, right. Just, you hear Dave move and shamble about, and a quiet back and forth of voices before the phone rustles and Solix's voice fills your ear. Why did you wake Dave up? He asks you a little judgmentally. I didn't have your number, and I needed to talk to you. I've lost the sickle, you say in a desperate rush. You dense motherfucker. How did you even manage that? Hey, no, it's fine. Go back to sleep. No buts. Move it. I can't catch what you have anyway, so those threats mean nothing to me, so get. Solix is clearly talking to Dave, and despite your panic, the meanly phrased, gentle care is both adorable and amusing. Solix coughs awkwardly and returns to talking to you. You hear something squeak and he sighs a little. You wonder if he's just jumped into this ferret hammock thing. Walk me through what you did, Solix says right into your ear. You went off like you do, and then I was just standing there with a weapon in public in broad daylight, so I thought, hey, maybe don't do that on campus because of reasons too numerous to list. You hiss and glance around to make sure no one can hear you either. Only thing dumber than having or losing a weapon on campus is to be caught loudly talking about it. Uncharacteristically smart for you. Go on. Solix snickers. Fuck you. Do you have to be an asshole at all times? You demand. Absolutely, but you need my help, don't you? So guess who has to deal with that? Solix asks teasingly. Me, you say, and get only a quiet laugh through the phone for your troubles. Just so you know, I hate you, you inform him, and you hear a startled little intake of breath from Solux. Okay, sure, I'll be helpful. What happened after that? Solux says, suddenly being useful again. I went to put the sickle away, and I took my bag off my shoulder, fiddled with the toggle thing, and then put my other hand, and then my other hand was suddenly empty, and there's nothing there, you hiss, looking around with paranoia. That's because you did that, magically, like how I pulled it out of my chest. You did the same thing, but in reverse, for however that works for you. You wanted to put it away, so you put it away. Don't think about it and just get it out again, Solix explains. That's the vaguest instruction ever, you say in protest. I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain basic operations of your physical form to you. It's your version of something I've been doing my whole life. You just do it. Want me to explain breathing to you next? Solix says in exasperation. You try to just do it, but unlike Nike, that doesn't work for you. It's not working, you say to him. You're panicking, that's why. Just leave it, Solix advises. Well, now what? You ask. Solix hums thoughtfully and you hear him shift. You think he actually is in that hammock thing. Are you in the hammock? You blurt out. Yeah, it's comfy. Just because I only sleep when I feel like it doesn't mean I don't like to relax, Solix says somewhat defensively. Do you dream? I've got a class on dreams tonight with Rose. Interpreting them, I mean. You tell him. I don't. Probably because I don't sleep that deep, and I haven't slept for most of my life, so I guess I didn't learn or get the habit. I can daydream, but that's not the same thing, right? Solix says thoughtfully. I think the line gets blurry sometimes, you tell him as you slide down the wall into a crouch on the floor, leaning most of your weight backwards. Sometimes you can daydream and your mind wanders off with whatever you're imagining and the whole thing becomes a little freeform like a dream. Are your dreams vivid? Can you remember them in detail, colors, and things like that? Solix asks. When I first wake up, sure, you tell him with a nod. If you closed your eyes now, can you remember your last dream? Solix goes on. You close your eyes, but after a moment you frown. I can't remember what my last dream was. They're usually nonsense things that are a mashup of stuff you've seen and thought. I don't bother remembering them much, you say. I guess it's hard to remember things like that, even things you've just seen. Can you remember the color of the handle of your weapon? Solix asks. The vision of it flickers in your mind, and you feel the urge to look at the real thing, but it's not. There's a sudden weight in your palm. You gasp, opening your eyes, and when you look down, you see your sickle is right in your hand again. Told you, just do it, Solix says, and you can hear the smug smile in his voice. That's... You trail off, and as you turn your hand staring at your weapon, you should put it away. As you think that, it fades from view, not going invisible, but leaving your hand and going somewhere else. You want it back, and it comes back to you. That's amazing, you whisper. I know I am, later. Solix snickers and hangs up on you. What a bag of dicks. You put your sickle away with the fuss of far unexplained magic and continue with your day. It's not just because you're talking to Solix about it that you're excited for your class on dream interpretation, but it's certainly there. That evening, you and Rose trek up far too many steps to get to class. I swear, if we end up on a Freudian dream theory, I'm going to throw myself out the window, Rose grumbles as you go. You're just falling asleep. How can either of us fuck that up? You reason. Rose looks at you sidelong, her gaze flat and unimpressed. You regret the words already, but they've happened and you can't do anything about it now. Your teacher gushes through the lecture about dream interpretation, saying that a lot of it's up to instinct. However, that doesn't make up a long lecture, so she pads it out with common interpretations of dreams, like how dreams about your teeth falling out mean something to do with money. You're unimpressed. Rose's unimpressed and sarcastic looks are traded betwixt you two whenever your teacher isn't looking. The one and only useful thing your teacher gives you is a charmed stone. You put it near your head when you sleep, and it'll sense when you dip into a dreaming phase. When it determines you're getting close to the end of that dreaming phase, it'll alert you and wake you up. At that point, you're meant to write down everything you can in a notebook, and in the morning read over it and interpret what you remember and what you wrote down. You settle into bed that night with the stone under your pillow and your notebook on your cleared bedside table, ready to record any dreams you have. Your expectations aren't high, but you await the insight of your sleeping mind. The sky above you is dark, impossibly dark. Yet as you walk, you can see just fine. You feel the weight of your armor shift as you walk, but it makes no noise. As you walk, the landscape forms. You see a castle, or perhaps a palace, maybe a temple. It's hard to say. The closer you get, the more details come into view. 2 people are sat outside the grand building. Your eyes land on Solux first, who has knelt on the ground as he stares at an empty set of armor. It's very much like yours, but the insignias are different. There are 2 swords strapped to Solux's back, and he doesn't seem to notice you as you pass. He's just waiting. On the steps of the building, there's a woman slumped over, but as your foot touches the first marble step, her head jerks up. She rolls around, her religious robes fluttering as she turns. It's Rose. She stares past you, her eyes white and blinded as red glowing light wraps around her eyes and head. Eyes cover her ceremonial robes, but the chest of them is emblazoned with the shining sun. You try to talk, to tell her who you are, but you can't seem to get a sound out, and she can't seem to hear you. You have to leave her and walk on. When you reach the highest step on the Palladial staircase, your eyes land on a tower at the corner of the building. Soundlessly, it wrenches itself up off the ground and slams back into place upside down. In slow motion, bricks are starting to fall away towards the ground, silhouetted against a huge green moon in the sky. The inside of the palace beckons you, and so you step inside to a throne room. There's a space for 2 thrones, but there is a shattered hole in the ground where one of them should be. The throne that ought to be there is missing. The remaining one is occupied. You walk closer, drawn without a thought. The woman on the throne, the Empress, becomes clear. Despite her regal finery, it's obvious that it's Roxy Lalonde. Her focus is not on you, however, but on an elaborate chessboard laid out before her. You stop in front of it and see that Roxy is playing as the white side, and someone else is playing as black. She appears to be losing badly. Her queen is almost surrounded, and you can see no way out for her. Roxy's pink eyes glimmer with amusement as she beckons your attention with a smile. Her index finger is pressed to the top of her queen, the way you can do in chess to indicate that your move is not yet done. She presses harder and harder on the queen, transfixed as you watch the piece shatter and divide itself into 2. As it does, Roxy's own skin falls away like shattered eggshells, leaving only a Roxy-shaped infinite void behind. A void in space, in the shape of a hand, pulls back and gestures as the white dust and shards of the queen reform into 2 other pieces, a knight and a bishop. The 2 new pieces shift about the board, slipping through the formation of the black pieces that were already in play. The game plays out, but the black side topples in the end. The void smiles at you, gets up closer, and leans over to you. You're frozen in place, staring at the hole in the world where Roxy should be but isn't, and also is more there than ever. The void leans close to your ear and whispers, "The tower was always going to fall, but the game isn't over." The charmed crystal under your pillow startles you awake, and you blearily scramble for your notebook. Hurrying, you write down the wildest and most confusing dream of all. When you're done, you pass out once more and sleep dreamlessly until the morning when your alarm wakes you. When you wake, your hair is a mess, as it always is when you wake up, and also the rest of the time. Even though you went back to sleep afterwards, the dream you had is still fresh in your mind. Fishing on your nightstand gets you the notebook where you clumsily wrote down all you could recall in your barely awake state. Your notes are a little incoherent, and you wouldn't expect anyone else to understand them, but as you remember the dream, you can get what you meant with your disjointed scrawl. You take 10 minutes on your laptop to write it out in long form with as much details as you can remember. Underneath, you start outlining a section for interpretation. Rose's very obvious blindness is a clear metaphor for her actual loss of second sight, and the way that her mother fell apart was also very clearly a metaphor for what happened to her. The rest is less clear. Does Solux waiting by that armor mean anything? What about the palace, the chess game, the tower? You close your laptop and get ready for the day. Once you're dressed and all things are in your bag, you step out of your room, intent on brushing your teeth, washing your face, and pointlessly trying to tame your hair if Rose isn't already in the bathroom. As luck would have it, she isn't. She's on the sofa instead. Rose is sat underneath several knitted blankets, half slumped against the armrest. She looks around when you enter the room, and her eyes are shadowed underneath. Her hair is a mess, and she's still in pajamas. "Oh, great. It's time to get up then," Rose mumbles. "Are you okay?" You ask warily. You're not brave enough to tell Rose that she looks like shit. The girl might shank you. When we did tarot, the cards went blank. When we did tea leaf readings, the tea leaves vanished. What do you think happened when I tried to do dream interpretation? Rose groans, rubbing her temple with her long, nailed fingers. The black paint is chipping off of them in places, and the contrast is stark against the bruised colors of her under eyes. You didn't sleep, did you? You guess as dread creeps through you. Not even a little. I don't know whether to laugh or cry, Rose admits. Shit, I'm sorry. Do you want me to make you coffee? You ask her as you drop your bag onto the armchair near her. You are the best theoretical husband. Yes. Please bring me coffee, she sighs. You walk over to your little kitchen area and set about making Rose a strong coffee with the pour over filter cup. You make sure to give Rose extra. You keep your coffee normal and pick out the mug you know Rose likes best for hers, and take another for your own. Her mug is one of those screen-printed ones, and you can get at a photo shop that also does pillows and shirts with your pictures on them. This one is a picture of her and Dave on Halloween. Rose has little cat ears on and whiskers painted on her face, and Dave appears to be dressed as Spider-Man, except he's got several fake stuffed arms stuck to his back. It's adorable. Oh, happy Halloween, by the way, you say as you flick the measuring spoon into the sink. Washing that is a problem for future you. To you, too, you sound like you slept well, Rose says, her voice mild but the accusation still there. You pause at the open refrigerator. You don't know what to say, and half-full bottles of milk aren't giving you any clues. You had a dream, didn't you? Come on, tell me. I'm deprived of my own. At least tell me yours, Rose says. Looking over, you can see that she looks not exactly desperate. That would be overstating things, but certainly keen to hear what you have to say. You don't think that lying to her would be wise either. I did have a dream, you admit, and take the milk out of the fridge. You don't always go for milk. Often you don't, but this morning you felt like it. You doubt Rose wants her coffee anything but black. Tell me about it, Rose says. So you do. You tell her all the details as much as you can as you toss out the paper filters, stir your milk in, put it away, and when you've returned to Rose and set her mug down on the coffee table, you're about done. It sounds like tarot to me, Rose says thoughtfully and picks up her mug, blowing across the top to cool it. How do you mean, you ask? Well, you said before that Solix had 2 swords with him. The 2 of Swords is a card, as is the Tower. There's several knight cards for your armor, and you referred to my mother as the Empress, not the Queen. That's a card as well, Rose points out. She's right, and the 2 of Swords is the card you associate with Solux. On top of that, your last reading put you as the Knight of Cups, and Dave as the Knight of Swords. Does that mean that the empty armor on the floor was supposed to do something with Dave? You reach into your bag and pull out your deck, selecting the card that Rose mentioned as well as another when you pass by it. The High Priestess. She's wearing a dress very similar to the one Rose was in your dream. You show it to her and tell her as much. Rose is flicking through a page on tarot on her phone as she looks over the cards you have. The Tower, inverted as it was in your dream, is literally about disaster, but it's connected to the chess game my mother was playing and the message that she gave you. Then perhaps you're dreaming about an inevitable disaster. Perhaps it's not all bad, though. The strange gambit she pulled off in the game might represent a way out of that disaster. Or it could just be a way of your sleeping mind incorporating her habit of dividing things in half, the one you already know about, Rose muses. It seemed pretty significant. The chess game must mean something. I also couldn't see who she was playing against, and there was a very obvious lack of another throne in the room. Maybe it's related to the Emperor card? If that was absent, would that mean it's inverted, or you're not sure? Yes, my distinct lack of a father figure is understandably present in your own dream. There's no torrid story there, if you're wondering, Rose tells you. No, I know. Dave told me. Whoever he was, he's never been there, so I would guess that would be more likely to be the card's actual meanings rather than referring to some guy who might not even know, or who might not even know you exist, you agree. Which would be authority or tyranny. How very like my mother to be fighting against authority even in dreams, Rose says with a smirk. Oh, that reminds me, I found a note from her the other day. Some book in the library was locked up and me and Kanaya went to look up why. Turns out that your mother reported on some prophecy from a dragon seer about the book, you tell her. I have no idea who that would be. That's not a title with seers, if that's what you're wondering. She's always been one for in-jokes and silly names, though, so I wouldn't think any much of it. Everyone knows dragons don't really talk to humans, and they're vanishingly rare anyway. They certainly don't bestow seeing abilities on humans or anything. Rose shrugs. You look over the cards in your hands again. What does this dream mean, then? Are you foreseeing the future, remembering the past? Or is this some reflection on your feelings in the present? Dave being absent from his suit of armor and Solix waiting there could be a representation of how Dave is sick and defenseless at the moment, and you're waiting for a chance to talk to him, and Solix is obviously waiting for him to be better. Your distress at Rose's lack of vision seems a pretty straightforward statement of how you feel, but the rest, you don't know. What are you going to do about not sleeping? There's only so long you can go without sleeping at all, you say, leaning back in your seat and looking at Rose. I don't know. I could try off and on. If I resolve not to interpret my dreams, I might be able to sleep. I'll probably give a rest tonight. We've got this party in the evening anyway. Although that said, perhaps the excitement of the party and the exertion of getting the place ready and perhaps dancing might wear me out enough to sleep regardless, Rose says. Yeah, I hope so. You nod. You've never been to a party, and you've actually looking forward to this one more than you'd expect. You might even dance if presented with the opportunity. You did the club, and once you got past your worry, then it was pretty fun in the end. Can I invite a friend? You ask suddenly. Your co-worker from the library, the girl you mentioned sometimes, Rose asks, looking you over her mug. Kanaya, yeah. I wouldn't want to ask her without checking, but it'd be nice to see her outside of work. I really like her, you nod. Of course. Oh, on the subject of the party, do you have a costume? I was going to go shopping for mine with the girls this morning since Dave is banned from going, and Solux magics his own clothing into reality. You should come with us if you don't have anything already, Rose suggests. You don't have a costume, but it's pretty traditional to dress up. There's been posts on social media and even around campus about not dressing up as anything offensive, that Culture Nog costume campaign. Like, no, you cannot dress up as your racist interpretation of what a Native American looks like, nor can you put on a shitty fursuit with horrible face and claim to be dressed as a werewolf. Demons certainly don't appreciate people wearing devil horns, although the practice has faded in recent years. What with the odds of being set on fire if you're caught being quite high. Also a lot of mysterious fires at the factories that make that stuff. Yeah, demons don't fuck around with that kind of thing. Still, you've no idea what you'll go as. This is going to be several hours of you all dressing me up for your amusement, isn't it? You ask her, and Rose grins widely widely behind her mug. It is, in fact, several hours of your friends dressing you up for their amusement. Jade is laughing so hard you think she might pee herself, and Rose is acting in treachery. In an act of treachery, takes a picture of you in a bunny suit that June all but forces you into. You delete that, you demand, pointing at her. Did you say send that to Dave? Okay, will do. Rose smirks. What? You yell, and all the alarms on the doors go off from the force of it. He says go Playboy Bunny next. Rose grins starkly. Oh, I can for sure find that, June cackles and rushes off. Absolutely not. I draw the line here. Here and no further. I want something good to actually wear tonight, I swear to God, you hiss. Jade is still giggling and wiping tears from her eyes, her glasses pushed slightly out of the way to do it. Oh boy. Okay, good costume. I think we saw one a while back. Let me go get it. She giggles. Why did you wait until now? You demand, pulling the bunny head off of yourself. Carcat, you know why, Rose snickers, and catches the head as you toss it at her. You slip back behind the curtain and start pulling off the bunny suit. It doesn't smell great, and it's hot as balls in here, so you're glad to be out of it. Behind the curtain, you hear a stressed-out member of the staff talking to Rose, telling her that your group needs to keep it down. He also adds that Banshee or whatever that you're with needs to zip it. Banshee, like you hadn't thought of that one. You toss the rabbit costume over the top of the changing cubicle at the same time that Jade shoves her arm in with another offered costume. You snatch it from her and peer at it. It doesn't look too bad, but it requires you to take off your shirt. You kept it on in the bunny suit because you dreaded to think of how many other sweaty people had been in that thing. Excuse me. The thought of communal sweat aside, this costume is actually pretty nice. It's a pirate costume, but more Pirates of the Caribbean than Sad Kids themed birthday entertainer. Jade asks for your shoe size, and you're slipped the leather vest, and as you're slipping the leather vest on, and by the time you've wrangled the highly impractical but very aesthetically pleasing number of buckles, you're actually feeling pretty good about how you look. Buttes, June cheers and tosses them over the top of the cubicle, catching you in the head with one, although you dodge the other. You inform June that she is, in fact, the worst as you pull the boots on and stand to inspect yourself in the mirror. Oh, this is a nice costume. You pull the curtain aside and the girls look around at you and stare in silence for a moment. Damn, Carcat, Jade says eventually and looks you up and down. Oh, I can absolutely work with this. Johnny Depp can move aside. This is far better. Rose nods and turns you around. What? I doubt that, you splutter, red-faced. No, you look really good, for real, June says sincerely. I think you're all blowing this out of proportion, but I do like it, you admit quietly. We are getting it. Go change so I can get it rung up. Rose nods. Apparently she's deciding this now, and by the sound, she's also paying. Wait, you're not paying for this, are you? You say in shock as June shoves you back in the cubicle. Consider it an investment on my part, Rose tells you, although she doesn't say what it's an investment in, and you're not entirely certain you want to ask. You know that Jade picked out a really pretty butterfly costume as well as some additional things she was going to add to it. Rose got a mismatch of things to make herself into some deep-sea creature, and June got her costume when no one was looking and refuses to tell anyone what it is. The afternoon you attend a quick workshop on Basilisk and swing by the library afterwards. Okay, I really have to go use the bathroom, so be right back. Quick little 5-minute break. I will be back. Okay, I'm back. I like scarfed down a little snack too, which is why I took a few more seconds. I had a little chocolate. What is this? Chocolate rice cake. They're very good. Okay. Back to it. Alright. The afternoon you attend a quick workshop on Basilisk and swing by the library afterwards. Carcat, what a pleasure to see you. You're not working today. Kanaya smiles pleasantly as you let yourself into the office. I know. I just wanted to ask if you'd like to go to a party with me. My friends are arranging one in my building, and they said I could ask people or other people to come, and I wanted to know if you'd wanted to come along. I'm sure my friends would love to meet you, and honestly, I've never had friends to invite to parties before now, so I'm taking the chance now that I have it, you say in a rush. When is it? Kanaya says, setting her book down. It's from 8 until, and I quote, late. Here, June made a thing, you say, and fish out the little paper invite that June had made. She handed them out and stapled them to a few notice boards in the building. Ah, Kanaya says slowly. She bites her lip and then looks up at you. I'm supposed to be working tonight until at least 9, if not later. I'd hate to miss out on most of the party and show up at the last moment, she says. She says regretfully, and your heart sinks. Hey, no, it's fine. You don't have to come, but don't feel like you can't come if just because you'll be late. I don't think it's anything formal. People are probably gonna just come and go whenever. So if you want to come, then do. If you want to come, then do. If you want to, you add. Perhaps she's just letting you down gently. I'd like to. I'll see if I can get away early, but I can't make any promises, I'm afraid. I usually don't do these sorts of things, so I usually offer to work the less desired shifts on the days like these so that more social people can get out, but we shall see, Kanaya tells you. Excuse me. Okay, I'll let you get on with it then. Hope I'll see you there, you add, not sure that she isn't just humoring you. I hope so too, Kanaya agrees. You leave the library feeling a little uneasy. Perhaps it was a premonition because when you get back, it turns out that the girls are waiting to ambush you and inflict makeup on you. You blame Johnny Depp for the idea that pirates have smudgy eyeliner on because you're certainly not getting out of it, nor are you escaping their attempts to turn your hair from a general mess into artfully tousled. You also don't think they manage it either. At the very least, the four of you split a pizza afterwards, which you get to eat, as Rose bats your hands away from your eyes repeatedly. You watch as Jade braids some of her hair, and Rose puts iridescent green eyeshadow on her. Her costume is technically very simple. The wings are more like a patterned butterfly shawl that attaches to her wrists, but because of the makeup and the glittering green clothes she has on, it looks far more fantastic than it technically is. June takes her turn to slip into the bathroom to get changed. Rose already got into her outfit, and now is just putting on makeup and accessories to really give the impression that she's some ethereal deep-sea creature. There's a fair amount of glitter involved between Rose and Jade, and you're reasonably sure that it's never coming out of your carpet. They're going to have to burn that thing to be finally free of it, and maybe not even then. 100 years from now, some poor sucker is going to find glitter still on the floor of this room. You're putting lip balm on when June comes out of the bathroom, and in your surprise, you end up getting it on your teeth, which feels fantastically gross. She doesn't really seem to be dressed up at all, except for a different shirt that you've not seen before, and a single boxing glove. June gives you one of those shitty grins and crouches down near you. You look at her outfit in confusion, and look only around when Rose groans loudly and smacks June in the arm. What? I don't get it, you say. Look at her shirt, the line down the arm. She's a punchline, Rose says despairingly. Your eye runs down the black line on June's otherwise white shirt that leads all the way down to the boxing glove she has on. A punchline. Oh my god, I hate you, you insist, somewhat undercut by Jade's snickering laugh behind you. Don't encourage her, you tell Jade, but that only makes her laugh more. Come on, Carcat, you know I'm funny, June grins, waggling her eyebrows at you. Funny looking, more like. You snap and look away, not willing to endorse this clownish behavior any more than you already have. When you're all done with your costumes and June's terrible joke of a costume, you head down to the large room that the party is going to be in. It looks like most of the setup was done yesterday by the girls, but there's always a few things to do, and you've no problem being a gopher for your friends. Bring these drinks here, set those cups out, put these snacks in this bowl, and so on. You're currently trying to walk without spilling a bowl of punch that Rose had whipped up. It's almost to the top, and if this was a cup just for you, you'd sip the top so it was easier to walk on, but you're not going to backwash into everyone's punch, thanks. You just have to be careful. Hey, a voice is behind you with a sharp puff of air across the back of your neck. It's a goddamn miracle that you don't drop or spill anything, although you do squeak an alarm somewhat embarrassingly. You set the bowl down on the table with a thunk and turn around to face the four-eyed fucker who tried to sabotage you. The righteous chewing out that you'd been gearing up for is derailed when you see him. Solix stands before you in a sharp black outfit, which could probably be considered flattering, but it's the dog collar that catches you, not the kind for an actual dog, or the more illicit kind for people. No, you mean the kind for priests. You forget their actual name, but the stark white strip around his neck under the collar of what is very definitely a priest's outfit has you speechless for a second. That, you say in a strangled voice as Solix's grin gets impossibly wide, that's definitely some kind of blasphemy. You're a demon, you can't just dress up like a priest. How hurtfully specious of you, Solix says, his words dripping with amusement and the obvious smirk on his face entirely undercutting any offense he might be pretending to feel. Oh, fuck off. Isn't that gonna hurt you? Isn't that likely to hurt you? Holy symbols and that? But I guess that stuff doesn't work now, huh? You trail off in thought. That applied before the event if this was an actual priest's outfit and if the priest had blessed it and was genuinely a holy person. As it is, I made this with very unholy magic, so I'm good. Solix explains with a half shrug and reaches past you to steal a snack. I don't think good is a word I'd use to describe you. Also, I meant to say thanks for your irritating assistance yesterday. You have a unique ability to really reliably be helpful in a way that makes me want to peel my skin off every time I have to ask you for help with anything, you tell him. Thanks, Solix says cheerfully. Solux, Rolls calls out. You turn around to see her walking over to you. You glance back at Solix in time to see him brighten when he catches sight of her, his smile actually warm and pleasant. Hey, you look really good. Can I help you with anything? Solix asks. Oh, can I help you with it? Solix asks, gesturing to Rose's outfit. Sure, she nods. Solix twists his hand in the air and you catch a flickering of blue and red light around Rose. Rose's dress and gauzy dark tendrils on it start to float ever so slightly, the wisps of fabric drifting in the air like they're moving in some deep ocean current. If she looked good before, then she looks genuinely supernatural and terrifyingly cool now. Rose twirls around for a moment, looking down at herself in clear approval. That's exactly what I was going for. You must teach me that later, Rose smiles. Sure, here, Dave gave me this. He insisted that if he couldn't be here, then he was at least going to DJ remotely. He has made a regular playlist, anyway, in case he falls asleep from his cold medicine. If I don't set this up, you know he's going to come down here, Solix says despairingly. I can believe it. He's useless at just resting when he's sick, so I'm impressed you got him to stay up there as it is. By all means, set up whatever you need to. Rose nods and gestures across the room. Thanks, Rose, Solix says, and with one last look at you, he walks off to set up the music for Dave. You don't have much time to linger as Rose pulls you back into helping her. As you're running around on everyday errands for your friends give you, the first few guests start to arrive. You're too busy to be nervous, and you have built-in excuse to not have to do the awkward meet and greets. By the time you're done, the party is properly started, and though a lot of people here you recognize from your building, there are a good number of other people you don't. The party starts to pick up as it was at the club, and you find yourself dragged into dancing by your friends. Only it's a little harder to let go and enjoy things because the people around you are your peers. They're other students, and you don't want to be known as the stupid, uncool, uncoordinated pirate at your first party of the year. It's not something you want at all, and it feels like everyone's watching you, even though you're sure that's not true. Rose and June are the lead hosts of the party, so they're flirting about, talking to people, and steering things along smoothly. This mostly leaves you with Jade, which is fine because she's fun and talkative enough for both of you. You don't want to dance, but small talk is somehow way worse, and you don't protest when Jade pulls you off to dance with her. You twirl June around one time when she bounces over to your group to dance, and it's nice. It's goofy and fun, and you're actually really enjoying yourself. Solix gets too close to you one time, venturing away from Dave's music setup. When he gets close, Rose grabs him into dancing with her, which derails into June fake grinding with him that lasts all of 5 seconds before the two fall apart in laughter that you can only just hear over the music. Jade spins you around with a laugh that's a little too entrancing to be mundane. You're sure she's letting a bit more of her fade side loose in here, but you don't mind. After a bit, you need to take a break and get a drink and catch your breath. As much as you're enjoying the music, it'd be nice to get a little quiet. The sensible part of you wonders if it's wise to drink open punch at a party like this, but Rose made it, and you wouldn't want to hurt your friend's feelings by not trying any. All your friends are here besides Dave, and you're not human, so you'll probably be fine, right? You hope so, because you've already had a mouthful of Rose's dark forest fruit punch. You lean against the wall and catch your breath, only to see Solix melt out of the crowd as he walks towards you. Hoping to set the tone of the conversation, you get the first word in. Dave did all this, you ask over the music and point towards the speakers with a finger in your cup-holding hand. Yeah, he's really good. I managed to get him not to include anything too dumb, seeing as how he's not here to enjoy confusing the shit out of people. Solix tells you. Dork, you snort, but you can feel the smile on your face, and it's echoed on Solix. So, pirate, Solix states, looking you up and down. You've no idea how many costumes they had me try on. This one I actually like, you say defensively. Like that adorable bunny suit? Yeah, sure, I bet. Solix snorts. Of course you saw that. I'm going to kill Rose now. Will you give me an alibi? You ask him darkly, glaring at Rose from across the room. She doesn't notice, of course, but it's the principle of the thing. Not a chance in hell. I'd tell everyone you did it, and pin some other crimes on you, too, Solix informs you. You're the worst, you sigh and sip at your drink. Yeah. Want to dance? Solix asks after a moment. You consider that for a moment. Solix might be a shitlord, but he is one of your friends, and you do like him. Well, not like, but not like something. Thinking about that is way too hard, so you'll take Solix up on his offer instead. Sure, if you're trying to make yourself look better at it by being next to me, who is comparatively worse than all the other dancers, then I applaud you on your cunning plan, you tell him, and down the last of your drink. You toss the cup away and push yourself away from the wall. Yeah, that's definitely it, Solix says after a pause. You figure he's not going out there on his own, so you lead, heading over to where Jade and June are dancing together. Solix follows, and you spend a good number of songs, appropriately spooky-themed, dancing both with Solix in his blasphemous outfit and trading out with Jade and June too. June one time takes the opportunity to dramatically dip you, and you only manage to resist screeching an alarm by biting your bottom lip hard. You think Solix is going to pass out from laughing so hard, and Jade is no better off either. As you're licking your poor lip to check it's not bleeding, you catch sight of a familiar face. Kanaya's at the doorway. One sec, you say to June, and dart through the crowd of dancing people. It's probably not the most efficient path there by the time you get out on the other side. You see Rose is already talking to Kanaya at the doorway. Was invited, Kanaya says with a delicate frown. My point wasn't whether you were invited or not. I think you should leave, Rose says coldly, looking at Kanaya over the top of her drink. Rose, what's... You start, hurrying over to them. Carcat, I was just telling the girl that she should leave. It's pretty poor taste to come dressed up as a vampire. I mean, really, Rose tuts as she waves at Kanaya. Oh, you say in shock. And really, just because you're attractive doesn't make it okay for you to come dressed as a sexy vampire either. It's not as if there weren't plenty of posters and general awareness raised on the issue to make it clear that dressing up as something you're not, especially a sexual version, is absolutely beyond the pale. Rose adds sharply, shooting a glare at Kanaya. Oh my, Kanaya says, her eyebrows climbing to her head in surprise. Rose, this is my friend, Kanaya, from the library, you know, the vampire friend, you joke out, looking from her to Kanaya in secondhand mortification. Rose's eyes go wide, and you can all but see her words replaying back in her mind. You can almost hear the words sexy vampire going through her mind, and you also kind of want to die just from being near her during this embarrassment. I see. Well, Kanaya was it, Rose says stiffly, looking at your friend again. Yes, it was. Still is, in fact, Kanaya says calmly, but you can see the quirk of amusement at the edge of her black-painted lips. Well, I do apologize for the impression I must have made on you. You are, of course, welcome to our party. If you'd excuse me, I think I need to go walk into the ocean and drown myself now, Rose says. I don't think you need to go that far. I came right from work, but I wasn't aware that I could classify my regular attire as sexy vampire. That's news to me, Kanaya says with a smile starting to inch a little wider, showing off one of her fangs a little more. You don't think you're imagining the way that Rose's skin is coloring, and you're not convinced it's all embarrassment. You wear that outfit to work, but you're so put together and stylish and, well, for a lack of a better term, very sexy vampire, Rose says, waving a hand at Kanaya's outfit. Oh, well, I do take quite the interest in fashion. I must say as well that your dress is absolutely spectacular, Kanaya compliments her. You start, but Rose gets there first. That means a lot coming from you. I really must apologize for how I came off earlier. I really am mortified, Rose admits, one hand pressed to her flushed cheeks. You're getting the distinct feeling that you're not needed for this conversation. No, no need. I have to say, the idea that someone is standing up for my kind without doing so performatively in front of my eyes is quite sweet. A little unneeded, though. I don't really need to be defended from anyone, Kanaya reassures her. Really, Rose says, somewhat breathily. Yeah, this is getting really gay and also really awkward for you to be around as a silent third party to this conversation. I just remembered I left a thing over there. I'll be right back, you say, getting no notice from anyone at all. You slip away, still somewhat flustered by the secondhand embarrassment. Something about watching someone lecture someone else about appropriate behavior, despite the other person being blatantly well aware, just sets your teeth on edge. Of course, it's not massively cringeworthy for Rose, or it is massively cringeworthy for Rose, and she's really got no high ground on Dave now. His far too subtle "do you like Justin Timberlake" was absurd, but not radioactively embarrassing to be around like that was. God, you feel weird now. Why do you feel so weird? You look over at Kanaya and Rose, who are very clearly flirting now. You can't even hear what they're saying from this far away, but you know the body language. You're happy for them. It's cute. Still, replaying Rose coming off as all condescending and lecturing Kanaya makes you feel... Where'd you go? Soluk says, suddenly at your side. I should put a fucking bell on you, you personified shitty jump scare. You hiss at him. You're all pissy all of a sudden. Did you remember how bad you are at everything you do? Soluk sneers at you, his eyes sparkling with amusement. Fuck off, I'm not in the mood. You groan and shove your fist against your eyes. You're almost certainly smearing your eyeliner. A quick glance at your hand confirms that you are doing that very thing. In your head, the scolding tone of Rose's voice keeps bouncing around and making you wince. Oh, what happened? Solux asks. You don't answer, so Solux looks around. You see him spot Rose and Kanaya. It's good because you see the way he jolts in alarm. What the hell? Solux gasps. That's my coworker, Kanaya. Rose is hitting on her somewhat ineptly, you explain. Kanaya, wow. Fuck. Solux whispers. What, you know her or something? You ask, your strange irritation moving away for curiosity. No, not personally. A friend of mine definitely does, though. Of course she's friends with you, I shouldn't be surprised, Soluk says with a shake of his head. He turns his gaze away from her and back to you. And I don't suppose you're going to tell me who knows her, why her liking me isn't a surprise, or how you recognized her, or anything? You guess. No, he says. Of course he does. You grit your teeth in irritation. Solux looks you up and down. What happened? Seriously, he asks again. I don't know. Rose was lecturing Kanaya on coming dressed up as a sexy vampire instead of actually being a vampire. Rose didn't realize. You tell him. Solux barks out a laugh. He clearly hadn't expected that answer. I know, it's funny as shit, but something about the way she was lecturing her makes me feel... You stop because you can't explain it. Even to yourself. You're just staring down at your empty hands like they might hold the answers, but they are, as you already noted, empty. No answers, no nothing. Understanding dawns on Solux's face. He reaches down and catches your hand in his and tilts his head. Now you have Solux's hand in yours. That's something. Follow me, he says, and pulls you away. He takes you toward the side door that leads out the building. There's a couple of people already nearby finishing up a cigarette, including a half-fey guy who is definitely not smoking tobacco. Not that you especially care. Remember how I didn't know the person you remembered? I did know some things about him. He used to do that sort of thing. Or he used to bitch about the way he talked to people. I guess it reminded you. Made you feel the same way, even though the memory it connects to or whatever isn't there now. Solux says, actually explaining for once. He nudges you to lean against the wall and shoves his hands into his pockets, standing in front of you and watching. That's why it feels like it doesn't make sense, you say. Makes sense to me, Solux nods. I've had 2 whole memories about this guy, or 1 memory and 1 feeling, and they've all been shit. Fuck this guy. Erase him from my brain again, please. You complain. Out of my league, sorry. I can help kill your brain cells the old-fashioned way. There's booze back inside, probably, or I could just punch you up in the head a lot. Solux offers with a mean grin. I'll keep you updated on my decision on that, you mutter, and rest your head against the bricks with your eyes shut. You hear the group who were smoking go back inside, and when you open your eyes again, Solux has his head turned in their direction, watching the doorway. You were in my dream last night, you say suddenly. Latula can do that. She did offer to teach me how to get in people's dreams. Solix says thoughtfully, looking back at you. Wait, was that actually you in my dream then? Not just whatever my brain does when I'm asleep? You ask in alarm. Maybe if he saw your dream, too, then he could be more insightful about what it might have meant. I wasn't doing anything deliberately, so you'd have to tell me, so I'd know if it's what she told me about or not. Solix says. He looks like he's trying not to break out in a grin, though you don't know why. Okay, you nod. I was outside this palace and you were kneeling down, and Solix snorts with laughter, his hand flying up to cover his mouth. What? You ask suspiciously. No. Tell me more about you dreaming about me on my knees. This does sound like Latula's thing. Solix laughs. Wait, Latula's a succubus. Solix is implying... You asshole! You snap and shove him in the shoulder. Your insult echoes off a few buildings. I thought you were actually being helpful. That should have been my clue, shouldn't it? You hiss. Solix seems entirely without remorse. That's not denial, though, is it? What were you dreaming about, KK? Solix cackles. Sorry, I didn't catch on to your very funny prank immediately, you shitlord. Some of us don't think with our dicks all the time, unlike you, who apparently does. You sneer. Solix's laughter dies down a little, and his expression shifts into something more devious. Making some assumptions, aren't we? He grins at you. What? That you think it all? Yeah, I guess I am, you retort. Or were you not paying attention to how I told you all about demon anatomy and how it's not always what you'd expect from a human who has this shape? Solix adds, gesturing to his body. His male body, you suppose. You accused him of thinking with his dick, and he's implying that it's through sheer force of will that you don't look down at his God help you, the bottom half of his priest outfit. You only manage the self-restraint because you know what it'll mean if he wins, and he'll mock you for it. Sometimes I don't know why I talk to you, you mutter. Yeah, you do, Solix smirks. No, I don't. And don't come at me with that look on your face. It makes me want to punch it off, and I've never punched anyone in my life. Not that I remember, at least. You had that last part uncertainly. Who knows what you did before? If anything, your words just make Solix's expression worse. You're just salty because you can't keep up with me, Solix says. Yeah, you're way better at being an unhelpful and irritating son of a bitch than I am. It really keeps me up at night, you say sarcastically. Does it? Solix asks, his innuendo very, very clear. Ignoring that, you tell him. You won't tell him that you won't rise to that bait, because that's just leaving yourself open for more of this shit, isn't it? Anyway, I don't know why you're acting all innocent about this. You're the one who did this and added another onto it, Solix says and holds his arm up, pulling his sleeve down as he does so. Your deal glows on his on his skin for a moment. You say that it's like you say that like it's my fault. You're bad at the thing you're literally supposed to be trained for, you tell him, unable to keep all the smugness that you feel out of your voice. What are you supposed to do? You're only human, or, well, something. And you wonder why this happens, Solix mutters. You started it, you point out a little petulantly, but it's true. Did not. You got under my skin first. Whatever I did before that isn't relevant, Solix says defensively. Oh, a convenient excuse. Very believable. And I bet that if I asked what I did, you just say you can't tell me, which may or may not be true, because I wouldn't put it past you to keep me out of the loop and let me know just because it'd annoy me. That's what you're like, you accuse him. Only with you, Solix says. The hair on the back of your neck is standing up on end, and you wouldn't be surprised if you zapped Solix if you touched him. That's just how charged the air feels right now. You know, I can't even... You shake your head again. It'd be easier if you weren't looking at Solix, but somehow you can't seem to not do that. If you were just some jerk who was actually dangerous to me, I could just ditch you completely. But you're obviously not a psychopath, and you've saved my life before. But it's like you walk this line between being a likable person and being a complete asshat that I just can't cut you off and walk away. It's like there's some science to this that you're doing, you accuse him. Like it's any better with you. You're all nice and sweet to everyone else, but the things you're able to say to me are completely different. I don't care how good you are, but you're really just as savage as I am. Besides, I know you enjoyed leaving me on the roof after getting an extra question, just as much as I got a kick out of waking you up the other morning and making you scream the room down. Solix challenges you, leaning closer. If there was any justice, I'd have burst your eardrums, you hiss at him. Solix smiles, way too sharp and self-satisfied. You just went and proved his point, didn't you? You just told him you'd wish you'd hurt him. Or you don't really mean it. Besides, you know he'd get better from it. There's no way you're taking what you said back, though. Then he'd have won. You think you're so smart, don't you? You say, leaning closer to him. You can get in his space, too. It's not just always him doing it to you. Smarter than you, Solux brags. That's it. You're out. You heave a sigh and push past him. You're going back into the party. So you admit it, Solux goads you, grinding you to a halt. You turn around to face him and glare at him. It doesn't make him back down, of course. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm still learning when I'm in one of the best schools in the world. Despite having like 5 years of memories, I only learned that I had magic this year, so sorry if I'm too slow for you. You sneer at him, taking a step closer. Solux presses a hand to his chest like he's actually touched. It means a lot to me that you'd apologize, KK. Solux says in faux sincerity, one that shatters when you one-handedly shove him against the wall. Listen here, fuckface. You've been able to do magic your whole life, and you remember everything, whereas I did all the work for our group presentation and gave the damn thing when you did fuck all. So really, your skills are just empty boasting at this point. You snap at him. I was a snake, Solux says defensively. At least you admit it. You grin and delight in the way he realizes you just insulted him, rather than talking about him literally being a snake earlier. You've not actually beaten me at anything academic yet at all. We've all passed the same tests. If anything, you're just coasting, you add. Solux bristles, and it feels like a win. You really are getting under his skin for a change, and it feels so satisfying to know that you can get him back. He glares at you darkly. All of his eyes are open, but his smaller sets are just furious little slits of illuminated rage. And you say I start shit, Solux says in a low voice, leaning in towards you despite your hand on his chest keeping him against the wall. He's a demon, though. If he didn't want to be here, then he probably wouldn't be. So why is he? Is it some brag that he's so unintimidated by you or something? You do, and here I am, ending it, you retort, because you have to say something. If you don't, he wins, and you can't have that. Don't see anything ending. I'm just here, and you're the one talking at me, Solux says as if he's innocent. Bullshit. This is your fault. You're irritating on a molecular level, you accuse him. You're closer now, somehow. You've got your fist in his blasphemous costume with him boxing against the wall. He's taller than you, but you're broader. He doesn't look the least bit intimidated. If anything, he looks smug. Don't give me that look like you've won something, you demand, poking at his chest with your other hand. Solux leans his head down as much as he can with you shoving him against the wall like this, smiling like a cat just about to shove something expensive off a shelf, or perhaps like a cat that's just caught a mouse and is going for the kill. You don't have to be here. If you didn't want to, you'd have gone inside again already, he says, all low and secretive. Your breath catches in your throat as you try to come up with a response. He started this, and he kept you here by being like this. It's all because of him. But even as you think of this, you can already predict Solux's response, that he's not doing anything. You're the one keeping him here, if anything. He's not even said anything, and your blood is boiling. What's worse is that you're replaying all these scenarios and responses in your head. Solux is just smiling, and it's getting more and more self-satisfied. You can't take it. You rush forward, not that there was much distance left anyways, and crash your mouth into his. You bite him as much as you kiss him, and from the noise Solux makes, you'd say he doesn't object at all. He wraps his hand around several of the very many useless buckles on your outfit and pulls you closer. He tilts his head a little and kisses you back, enough that your spine goes electric at the feeling of his split tongue. Your system is alight, and the fact that you finally shut him up, that you finally won something. The way his tail loops around your leg absolutely feels like him giving in. Solux is sharp and wonderful. His sharp fangs scrape your lip, but never break the skin. His claws prickle but don't maim. He could hurt you, but he doesn't, and so you kiss him more urgently because of it. You don't think you've ever been kissed like this. It's so intense, so something that you lack the word for. It's completely different to Dave. You kissed Dave first because you wanted to date him, and here you are kissing his best friend. Oh, fuck, you gasp, jerking back from a slightly dazed-looking Solux. Sounds good, Solux says a little breathlessly. You take a second to realize he interpreted that way differently to how you meant it. It's no wonder with how you are now, flushing hot with shame as you push away from him, taking several unsteady steps backwards. Solux's cheeks and the tips of his ears are almost goldenrod in color, but his expression is shifting into something of confusion. What? He asks. What the fuck is wrong with me? You whisper, one hand over your mouth. You did this. You kissed him. You can't even say that it was the other way around. Would you like a list? Solux grins lazily, his tail shifting hypnotically through the air as he watches you. No. I think I can make that on my own. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have kissed you. This was all a big mistake, you tell him in a rush. The amusement falls off of Solux's face and his tails drop straight down. What? That's not funny, he says stiffly. I know it's not. I'm sorry, Solux. I should never have done this. I already kissed Dave. There's this thing going on. I was supposed to ask him if he wanted to, but then he got sick. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't have kissed you. I'm sorry. You apologize. You're sorry? Solux snaps. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean this. You apologize. Solux jerks back as if you slapped him when you say that, his eyes wide. What have you done? You cover your face with your hands. What have I done? What have I done? What the fuck is wrong with me? Oh, God. You groan. You jerk your head up when you hear an injured little noise and see Solux looking at you with hurt on his face. Fuck, I said it again. Oh, I'm sorry, you say hastily. Screw your sorries. Don't tell me you didn't mean all of that. I was the one kissing you. You meant it. You hate me, Solux argues. I don't hate you, you protest. You do, Solux insists, still staring at you. No, I don't. I like you. You're nice and you care about your friends. You care about Dave and Rose's mother, and you saved my life. You're a good person, and just because you irritate me sometimes doesn't mean I hate you. I shouldn't have kissed you, much less out of anger. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I really don't hate you. This is my fault, not yours, you assure him. No, you're just saying that. You hate me, Solux says, trying to grab your arm and missing when you jump back. I'm not just saying it, Solux. I could never hate you, you tell him. Desperation crosses his face, and Solux starts listing off all these things that he knows you really think and feel, things that you really want, that you want to hurt him, that he's your opposite, and no matter how much you try to stay away, you keep coming back. He says that you want to beat him at anything he does, to be better, to prove yourself. You deny each thing, and it's easy enough to say that you don't want to hurt him, but it's harder to shove down the memories of how many times you smacked him in the arm or tried to kick him under the table. You've wanted to retaliate, to get him back, to beat him in his own game, but you don't want that. You do. You don't. He's Dave's best friend. He's his oldest friend. He's a good person who cares about the people in his life. He saved your life and cared about you despite you being quite different people. You like him. You think he's great. You can't listen to the horrible part of yourself that want those other awful things. It clearly leads to shit like this. It leads you to angrily kissing him against a wall of the building when the guy you want to date is sick in his room, in their room. I'm sorry. I don't hate you. I shouldn't have done this. It was all a huge mistake. I'm sorry. You apologize to him. You have to be better. Solux stares at you, out of breath from yelling all the things you shouldn't want at you. Your apology seems to wash over him and leaves him just looking at you, wide-eyed and shaking slightly. Then, without a word, he's gone in a flash of blue and red smoke and synthetic apple scent. Shit. You need to find Dave and tell him what you did. You need to own up to your own mistakes. It's easy enough to walk around your building to avoid the party. You head up the stairs to Dave's floor, with your heart already in the pit of your stomach. You reach your hand out to the door and freeze. The thing is, your dorm is isolated from sound, but not everyone's is. Dave and Solux's dorm isn't. You hear the muffled sob even through the door. Your hand stalls, but you need to do this. Screwing up your courage, you knock on the door. It's Dave who pulls it open. His hair is stuck at strange angles. His shades are missing, and his eyes and nose are a little reddish. He's in his pajamas as well. You, Dave says. Dave, you start. You hear a gasp from within the room and another puff of a teleporting demon. Solux, wait. Shit. Dave isn't quick enough to stop Solux from leaving, and the end result is him standing in the doorway looking into his now empty dorm with you in the hall. He sighs and then coughs into his sleeve for a moment. Well, come in. Not doing this shit in the hallway if I can help it, Dave says a little raspily. You step inside and neatly shut the door behind you, making sure that it's properly shut before you turn back to face Dave. He doesn't look pleased to see you at all. Dave, I'm sorry. I fucked up. I came here to apologize. I wanted you to hear it from me. You tell him. Hear what from you? How you kissed my best friend or how you ripped his heart out? Which thing? Dave asks you wapishly. You wince, but you deserve that. Fuck, you mutter and look at the ground. How did I screw all this up? I didn't mean... I don't know what's happening anymore, you say softly. Dave sighs, and when you look at him, you see his expression is just sad. He reaches out and grabs your sleeve and pulls you towards the sofa. How about you just start talking, he suggests. Where do I begin? You ask, and sit down. The beginning, he says, tilting his head and shifting side on the sofa so you can rest his head on his arm, and he drapes it across the back of the sofa. He's tired and sick, and was probably feeling tired and sick of you. I liked you. We kissed. I can start there, you say. Liked? Dave asks, his head lifting and his eyes widening. I still like you. I just meant specifically then, you amend hastily, and Dave relaxes a touch. Go on, Dave nudges with his foot. Alright then, you will. You stop looking at him, though, because it's just too much to bear. Instead, you stare down at your hands in your lap. I liked you, and it became a crush, and then more. I didn't think you liked me back, which probably added to me not decoding your Justin Timberlake code, you say. I'm never living that down, Dave sighs. No, but I saw what I thought was there, which was me being lucky enough to be friends with you. But then we kissed, and it was everything, and, you know... But Rose showed up, and then our friends were there, and I didn't have time to ask you if you wanted to date me because I didn't really want a casual thing. I didn't want to message you because that's just so unromantic. And then you got sick, and it didn't seem like the time, and you sigh in frustration. You overthink things a lot, huh? Dave says. Clearly, this current situation is evidence that I don't think enough. I'm a fucking moron, Dave, you inform him. Dave looks at you, his cheeks squished against his hand, and his red eyes focused on you. I just assumed we were dating already, Dave says after a moment. Oh, you squeak. Oh, that's so much worse. So I actually cheated on you then. Not even just a slightly gray area of shittiness, but actual, oh, great, I'm going to hell. You whine and bury your face in your hands. You were dating, Dave? It's frozen over and kind of terrible, so don't. Gets bad Yelp reviews. Do not recommend. Maybe don't go, Dave suggests, although it's a bit late for that. I don't even know why I kissed Solux. I still like you, and I don't feel for him what I feel for you, you insist. Well, no shit, Dave groans. You look over at him in alarm, but Dave is just resting his back against the armrest, combing his sweaty, ill-person hair out of his eyes with his fingers. It was pretty obvious that you two had some kind of thing for each other. You were always up in each other's grills all the time. I figured it was like a demon thing and a whatever you are thing. But it's not what I have with you, having that for him. And him being in, you liking me like I like you are different. I don't care about that. And I don't care about it, Dave says hastily. I don't like him like I like you assure him. But you do have feelings for him, Dave points out. No, you deny hotly. You don't have any romantic feelings toward Solix at all. You don't know why you kissed him at all, and you never want to think of that again. Try again, because you got my best bro all fired up for you and then kissed him for no reason, then told him you had no feelings for him, then you can fuck right off out of here, preferably through a window, Dave says coldly, gesturing to the window across the room. You're on the 6th floor. You stare at your feet and Dave waits you out. I don't hate him. He's frustrating and irritating, I swear. He does everything he does just to drive me nuts, but it's not like I don't respect him. He's kind to you and our friends. The way he is with your mom is so nice. He's clearly smart and a good person, you tell him. Or, well, the floor, since that's what you're looking at. Yeah, he is, Dave agrees softly. But it's like I'm allergic to him. It just itches and I can't not scratch it. And even though it's obviously a bad thing to do, I trust him and I like him and I also want to punch him in the face, and that's a horrible thing to think. And he just pissed me off so much that I kissed him, and it somehow made total sense until I remembered that I have feelings for you and not him. And I'm clearly the worst person ever, and I don't know what's wrong with me, you say slightly hysterically. Dave sighs and slides a little lower into the sofa, his feet almost touching your leg. This is a shit show, Dave states. Yeah, it is. You nod. Silence covers you both for a while. Guilt and shame are coiling hot inside you. Dave's being so nice and you don't understand why. You're the worst. You messed up so badly, but he's talking to you. I don't have the feelings for him, not like you. Or I don't have feelings for him, not like you. You swear to him, and Dave shakes his head. Sounds like you have a crap ton of feelings for him, Dave replies. You open your mouth to protest, but he's not exactly wrong. Look, dude, it's not as if I'm pissed. You didn't think we were dating, but you did like me, and you go and kiss someone else when you thought we were going to be an exclusive thing. It's pretty shitty no matter how you slice this, Dave points out. I know, I'm sorry, you apologize. But fine, you made a dumb mistake, and to your credit, you came right here to confess instead of hiding it. And it's kind of hard to be completely mad at you when you're dressed as some sexy pirate, Dave adds. Sexy pirate? On top of that, I knew Solux had some kind of thing for you, and that's a demon thing. But because it wasn't the same thing as my thing, and I didn't think that it was worth bringing up to you because it's not my feelings, so it's not my place. He told me about it, but I can't tell you all of that. You obviously have a lot of feelings that you can't get when it comes to him, and I can't blame you for being confused, and it's not as if shit hasn't been bug fuck nuts lately, so that's fair too. Dave goes on, seemingly just letting the sexy pirate thing lie as it is. But what you said to him really hurt him. Really, really bad. I've never seen him that upset over anything. You ripped the dude's heart out, and I didn't even get all of what you said out of him before you showed up. But I got enough to work out that you trying to backpedal managed to say all the wrong things. He's really hurt, Dave says seriously, and your heart sinks. You didn't mean to hurt him. I didn't mean to do that. I'm really sorry, you apologize, turning on the sofa to face him properly. He needs to know how much you mean it. Don't apologize to me, man. Tell him. Although I'd say good luck with that. I doubt he wants anything to do with you now, Dave says. He doesn't want anything to do with you, ever? Panic starts to fill you, and Dave shakes his head. Don't have feelings for my ass. Look, Solux isn't one to keep hurting himself for no reason, and you hurt him really badly. I get this is all some well-intentioned and misunderstood fuck-up. I get that. But I don't think he's going to forgive you that easily, and he's my best friend, Dave says. He's your moirail, you say. Dave seems surprised for a moment, but nods. I gotta side with him on this. I can't date you unless he's cool with you, and right now, he's significantly uncool with you, Dave says. I didn't expect that you would date me after this. I'm surprised you're even talking to me, you admit uncomfortably. Nah, man, we're not doing this middle school bullshit where I won't talk to you because you hurt his feelings. I'm not here for that drama. I'm still going to talk to you in class and shit, not to mention we're all in the same non-changeable combat class group. I'm still going to be around you, but unless you manage to make things square with him, we can't be a thing, Dave tells you. It all seems very diplomatic, and more than you probably deserve. Do you think that's going to happen? You say skeptically. I hope so, Dave says with a shrug and leans back against the arm of the sofa again. You're not so convinced. This is all very reasonable, you say slowly, because it feels like a trap. Well, one of us has to be the smart one, and apparently it's me, Dave scoffs. You'd argue, but after what just happened with you and Solux, you think that he's won by process of elimination here. And as a side note to stop... Wait, who's talking here? Dave, okay. And as a side note to stop more miscommunication, I'm totally cool with you dating him and whatever thing that is if we do get to what we're supposed to be getting to, like regular dating. To be honest, that's what I thought was already happening. As far as I know, this was all going to be perfectly fine until you did a triple backflip into the worst option in all the Telltale game choice menus. All like, Solix will remember this, and now it's all complicated. And now you're gonna get the good ending for all of us? And now how are you gonna get the good ending for all of us? Dave asks, clearly waist deep into a tangent you can't even pretend to understand. You skip ahead to the bit you caught. You thought I was gonna date you and Solux? You ask skeptically. Well, yeah, I mean, technically by demon standards, the Moirail thing, or I technically am by demon standards with the Moirail thing, so it was gonna be a nice triangle of everyone getting what they want, so it was all gonna go well, Dave explains. You stare at him in disbelief. And you didn't think to mention this to me? You ask. Didn't want to, like, ruin the magic, Dave mumbles, glancing away. You are not the smart one. None of us are. We're all stupid, including you. Jesus fucking Christ, you can't just assume that people don't just fall into perfectly working polyamory if that's what you're suggesting. Certainly not without talking about it. I don't even understand what happened with him. But you thought it'd just all work out without any discussion about it. If we did even all date, there's not a brain cell between the three of us. Frankly, at this point, Solix seems the least stupid. You insist. Ouch, Dave pouts. You hate how cute it is, and how it makes you want to kiss him, no matter that he's sick. Yeah, you aren't smart either. You sigh and rest your head on the back of the sofa. You consider that Solix isn't going to want to talk to you after this, and you feel cold at the thought. I should apologize to him, you say quietly. Yeah, Dave agrees. It'd be good if I knew what I should and shouldn't say, because I don't want to make this worse. I don't even understand why I kissed him, or what. None of this makes sense, you whine. Dave pats your arm consolingly and leans a little closer. I really hate this bro code is making me have to swear off of you because, damn, I don't blame Soul. I'd kiss you if you dressed like that, Dave says secretly. You look over at him sharply and wonder, and some somewhat wanting expression on his face without his shades, in a way that tells you that he's not joking. He's not joking, and you can't take him up on the offer until you fix the problem that you don't understand. I see. I'm already in hell, you say tightly. Yay! Love this chapter. Hey, how are we all feeling? You guys are talking a lot. I was not able to look at all those fucking comments. What a chapter. How are we feeling? I don't want to say too much, but I will just say it. Like, this is the worst that the miscommunication gets. We're gonna be coasting soon. I believe it. Trust. This is but I love this chapter, dude. The fucking Sino. Did you remember? Because I remember sending you. I could have sworn I sent you the build up to the kiss. I could have sworn I did. Or maybe not the build up, but at least the bickering stuff that happens earlier. Which I fucking love this scene. I love this pitch bickering scene. It's so good. Do you guys okay? I have a little question. I remember you sending me something with a ton of I hate yous. Yay. Do you guys want me to explain quadrants? Because it might give a little insight, but the fic itself will also kind of explain it in its own way. But it's not really a spoiler if we talk about it now. So it's kind of up to what you get, to the non-homestucks here. If you guys want me to give a little laydown. Yes, please explain. All right. Quadrants. Homestuck. Here we go. The fic also never explains Ashen. That's true. All right, boys. Here's a fucking wiki page. We're not okay. This is it's long, but the important part. But we'll talk about the important stuff. So, in alternate universe, the quote unquote demon romances, right? Are essentially just translations of troll romances in alternate universe. There are 4 of them. So as we can see on this little page, there's 4. There is a red romance. So this is the heart is called flushed. The spade is called pitch, or flushed. Mate spritz is another way to put it. There's pitch, which is your kismesis, or kismesis. Some people say because it's like nemesis. I say kismesis because it sounds better to me, but there is an auspicious, which is ashen, and then there's your moirail or more allegiance, which is diamond or pale. So essentially all trolls can have these 4, for the most part, can have these 4 different romances. Your goal is to kind of fill a person or a set of people in each of these. So for example, one troll would have a moirail, would have a mate sprit, would have a kismesis, and then they would have, an auspicious, if they needed an auspicious. We'll get into the auspicious later. It's a bit more of a complex one. But these are all considered technically romantic relationships. Now, romantic relationships in trolls are a little bit different in their culture, but these are all considered different romance relationships. And your goal is to you want to have all of these, or a stable troll, a troll that is well cultured and in good placements in like social standings, has can fill all their quadrants. So we'll start with the first one, mate spritz. Mate spritz or flushed is the easiest one. Is it kind of like a gotta click them all thing? Yeah, for most trolls, your goal is to. Mate spritz is the most easy. Mate spritz is or the flush quadrant is kind of the closest of how we would understand human relationships. It is I love you. It is symbolized by a heart. It is what like a typical romantic relationship by heteronormative standards, obviously. Well, not necessarily heteronormative, but by normative human standards are. We then get into more allegiance. More allegiance is the diamond. More allegiance is what would be the closest translation would be the concept of like a human soulmate, but like more platonically. And it has a specific social purpose in troll society. So for trolls, so more allegiance is also described as a pale quadrant, and is specifically non-sexual.
It is a form of guardianship, but it isn't simply about being platonic bro souls. They are more like protectors of each other's hearts. They keep each other grounded. Dave and Solux, right, in Alternate Universe are moirails. A troll is compelled by fate to watch over a moirail and keep them in line. Despite the platonic appearance of this role, as we currently understand it to us, trolls still consider it a type of romance. Moral allegiance also entails pacifying one's partner, something that is essential due to the violent nature of trolls, which is often skewed to one side. The two partners in a strong pale relationship will serve to balance and complement each other in their emotional profiles, and thus allow other relationships to be more successful. This is represented by a diamond. You call him you call your moirail, you call your diamond or your pale partner moirail. Then we get into Kismesis. Kismesis, also described as pitch or caligonous, is denoted by the spade symbol. Kismestitude is what a troll feels towards someone they know as their Kismesis. It is linked to hatred. It is necessary that both parties feel equal, balanced hatred towards each other. Not any kind of hatred will do, since there is such a thing as platonic hatred among trolls. In other words, Kismesis tend to be based on a mix of hatred and sexual attraction. As it thrives on a rivalry between two trolls, defeating or killing your Kismesis is discouraged, since obviously there wouldn't be a relationship anymore. However, despite the strong hatred aspect of the relationship, in order for a Kismesis to last, there must be some level of respect between those people involved. The tension in a Kismestitude relies not only on hatred and annoyance of the irksome, of one of more irksome aspects, but also on a level of admiration for their more positive aspects. It is one of concupiscent relationship, those dealing with reproduction, the other being a matespritship, and it has been shown that with matesprit, blah, 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 blah. It's essentially, it is, here's the thing, and this is a kind of a cultural thing, and one that unda uses. The typical phrase, so we would say, like, I love you, right, as a matespritz thing. A moirail, two trolls who are moirails, would say, I pity you. Pity has a little bit of a different understanding in troll culture. Kismesis say, I hate you. So during the confession scene, or not confession scene, but during this kind of scene, when Solux is saying, but you hate me, in Solux's mind, this is confirmation of, like, your confirmation of feelings, but Karkat doesn't have that cultural context, doesn't understand that it's essentially like confirming, like trying to confirm these feelings. Karkat sees this as like hatred, as how humans understand it, but hate is something that is very much more loaded, with like almost romantic tension here, and so that is what is the feeling here. So it is miscommunication based on cultural misunderstandings between demon romance and someone not knowing it. People are explaining some more stuff. Yeah, unda definitely does more. I really like I think the way that unda explores moirails in Dave's Broken Diamond Club is much more defined and like interesting than what Hussey does in Homestuck itself. Lunar, it is actually pretty easy to kind of look at the trope of Kismesis as kind of like an enemies to lovers thing, but they stay enemies. There's a I wonder if I can find it. There was this really interesting where did I put it? Tumblr Kismesis, how to write a kiss pitch relationship. Can I find the post? Yes, I think I found it. Yes, this post, I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but this is one of my favorite this is one of my favorite posts that covers Kismesis stuff. Essentially, because somebody asked, like, how do you go about writing a pitch relationship? When you get down to the wire, it's all about respect. The foundation of a pitch relationship needs to be some sort of respect, the equality. This seems kind of obvious at first, but how the fuck do you rival someone if you're not equal? If they're actually better than you, and they win every fight, that's a beatdown, not a rivalry. the whole idea is, when it comes to the relationship, once the two idiots start dating, that is, the main idea is that there's a push and pull. An ideal pitch romance is essentially an act of tug of war between two parties. Suppose in your general human flesh relationship, the two of you take turns playing date nights to show your investment in courting. In a pitch romance, it might involve taking turns winning. If your pitch partner has just pulled an incredible prank on you, it is now your turn to come up with something even better to get back at them. You can't be shown up by them. You want to win. Main thing about pitch romance is based on annoyance and hatred. This person should annoy the shit out of you, and the friction is what causes the tension. That's where respect comes in. In one party may be completely unable to fight or fend off any attacker. The other may be the strongest bodybuilder in the universe. And you could think to yourself, well, clearly they aren't equal, because the bodybuilder could snap the weak one like a twig. But if these two people really had healthy pitch feelings for each other, they would exhibit in challenges that were not physical. Perhaps the two of them are equally terrible at video games. Their rivalry could manifest around that. So it's there's a lot to it. Like, this thing's pretty long. Is something playing? Oh, wait. This this Tumblr post had music in it. I was like, there's some really loud music going on that I could hear. Yeah. I was like, what is that? That was from the Tumblr page. Okay, and then to finally sum it up, we have auspicism. Auspicism is a bit more complicated because it is a three-way relationship. You essentially, with an auspicious is a mediator or a facilitator between some sort of pair. Majority usually, almost actually always, it's a pitch relationship. So if a pitch relationship starts to get kind of toxic, because, pitch relationships are almost violent usually, or have some sort of violent element to it. And there's kind of a thin gray line between it being abusive and it being healthy. And sometimes because of the volatility of the relationship, it can lean more into that abusive nature, or that unhealthy nature. And when it starts to get to that point, that is usually when a third party, an auspicious, is going to step in. And now we still consider this is a romantic relationship still. That auspicious is still considered in a romantic relationship as the mediator role for these two people in a pitch relationship. And they will help come together to keep peace between the parties, to keep them so they can, stay together. Without auspicious, widespread black infidelity is guaranteed. It is one of two conciliatory relationships, though, again, it is romantic, but it's not sexual, right? But it's still, again, considered romantic. So it's kind of interesting, and I really think that it's, I love the quadrant relationships as kind of an explanation for different types of relationships. It makes things really interesting. It has it builds in polyamory inherently into Troll Society, which is really cool. And all the things are kind of different. And then you have all the kind of cool stuff with quadrant vacillation, which is, characters switching around with, so an A, if A and B are in a mate split ship, maybe they might feel like they have a pitch relationship, and then, their relationship with this person will change, and everything can kind of switch up and feel weird. You get these kind of really crazy love triangles and squares and all this sort of stuff. So obviously there's all these, things, and this wiki page is very, very long. But it's fascinating. I love. And pitch relationships are my favorite dynamic. Absolutely my favorite dynamic. I love the idea of, I'm such a fan of enemies to lovers. That trope is so fun to me. So building it in as an official romance type, essentially, is lovely. Is so great. The best thing is that the comic hardly goes into depth about any of these relationships at all. Yeah, Willow. I hope that's sarcasm, because the amount of time I'm gonna strangle Hussy. I would strangle him for a lot of things, this just being one of them, but yeah, so there's a little explanation for quadrant stuff, just so just so now in the future, when the stuff is happening with Solux and all that sort of stuff, you're maybe a little bit less confused. So yeah, so saying I don't hate you broke this man's fucking heart. Oh my god, poor Solux. Oh, poor Solux. poor fucking guy. Oh my god. Oh my god. And so even so there's a term called pitch flirting. Pitch flirting is this is pitch flirting when like this whole thing, like all of this back and forth, this bickering, this is pitch flirting. Karkat is pitch flirting with Solux completely unknowingly. This is very standard in Kismesis relationships. And Solux is just playing into it because he's flirting back. He's pitch flirting back. You know, it's and so when Karkat initiates the kiss, like, I mean, come on, what's Solux is supposed to think? He's like, I guess they're down for this. I guess, you know, Karkat fucking knows and he's on board. He's so fucking good at pitch flirting and he doesn't even know it. It's true. Oh my god, he's so good at it. So yeah, okay. So that's all. We have hit over 2 hours because you asked me to talk about what do you call it? About quadrants, and I'll be here all night. But yeah, dude, when the kiss happens, I saw you guys are freaking out in chat. I'll have to go back in chat and see what you guys are saying because, like, oh my god, they were going crazy. I was going fucking batshit. I was trying to keep my mouth shut. Thanks for explaining it. Of course, I will happily. And like, listen, guys, it is not gonna. I will say it's not gonna take fucking 80 chapters or 30 chapters for them all to get together. Don't worry, it's not gonna take that long. You guys, we're gonna be fine, okay? this I know it says 45 to 45. It's not gonna take that long. I promise you. You guys will be fine. So yeah, well, it'll be fun. Okay, that is all for stream. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, as usual. I'm just very good at not dragging stuff out. Yes, with the exception of YWDMP, and that even wasn't dragging it out. That was like making it a really nice, like, sizzling slow burn. But it made me want to yank my hair out because I just wanted them to kiss. But then when they finally did, oh my god. When all three of them finally were smooching, oh my god. Anyways, okay. All right. I am gonna go for the night. It makes the payoff go so good. Absolutely. Karkat asked if Solux was going to go to the Halloween party earlier in the chapter, and I immediately remembered which chapter this was, and I was saying you're waiting for the ball to drop. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go now. Hope you guys all have a lovely night. I will be back here as usual tomorrow, 9 p.m. EST. Yeah. So I will see you guys all then. Good night. Thanks for hopping by. Thanks for vibing. How long is the next chapter? I will check for you. The next chapter is 16k words, so I think about the same as last one. Oh, a little bit shorter than this one. So yeah. So I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Good night.